Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so in this video we're gonna talk everything relating to overcoming excessive indulgence, which basically means addiction. But I don't want to use the word addiction because I feel like it has such a negative connotation, and just from personal experience, when you are struggling with addiction, the worst thing you can do to yourself is to be really anxious about your situation. While some frustration is good to push you to change yourself and change your behavior and stuff, if it's too much, it kind of robs away your power. So in preparation for this video, I did a fair amount of research, including reading papers and watching people who have overcome their addictions and sharing their experience on YouTube and podcasts. And also, most importantly, I've talked to many people who have successfully overcome their addictions to various substances. And also my personal experience. We're going to talk about how and why excessive indulgence happens, what mindset to utilize when you're trying to rewire your brain into being not dependent on a substance or a certain type of behavior. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you guys some actionable items that I actually employed in my life to overcome my excessive indulgent tendencies. Yes. Okay, so let's start with how dependency happens. If you have an obsessive tendency, sometimes, most likely, it's kind of related to your childhood or like your upbringing. Most of the times, your indulgent tendency actually stems from a place of trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings or like a type of escapism. I think it's important to recognize that you're just using a certain behavior or like substance to avoid feeling a certain way. But if you actually like allow yourself to face those emotions, you will probably see where that problem is stemming from, and easier for you to like target it and, you know, like resolve it, kind of. Like for me, for example, I realized that sometimes my excessive indulgent behavior is a way for me to avoid feeling lonely. Sometimes in the present moment I feel sad, I feel like negative, like I feel sad, and I didn't know why before, but now that I've like evaluated, I realize that it's because I feel lonely and I don't feel like I have enough supportive connections around me. And so like once I realized that, I started putting in a lot of like proactive efforts in maintaining my connections in my life, and having that support system is just like really helped me mitigate that negative emotions, and which in turn helps me mitigate my obsessive indulgent behaviors. But yeah, that's just my example. Maybe you're like trying to avoid other things, and that's up to you to figure it out. Okay, but aside from this like psychological standpoint, there's another approach that we can look at addictions or dependency, which is our internal reward system, our dopamine system. So physiologically speaking, our dopamine system is our one and only internal reward system. So everything related to motivation and, you know, like reward, like you're pursuing something in order to get a reward and everything like that, is like governed by the dopamine system. But the dopamine system is designed to have a pain-pleasure balance. So every time you experience something like high in pleasure, say for example you like eat a donut, right, and your dopamine level in your body goes up, because the system is designed to strike for homeostasis status. After you experience a jump in dopamine level, your body's gonna naturally excrete a chemical that makes you, it's like a pain chemical, it makes you feel painful, like physically. Sometimes you can't like physically or consciously detect this feeling, but this is what's happening inside our bodies. And if you experience a very big jump in dopamine, the scale of pain and balance is going to tip over towards the pain side a little bit more. And this is just how the dopamine system is designed to balance things out. And another thing about this dopamine system is that at all times our body has a natural level of dopamine floating around in our system, and this is called the baseline level of dopamine. And when you tip over, like when I say the scale is going to tip over towards the pain side, what I mean by that is that your dopamine level is going to be lower than your baseline after you experience a big jump in dopamine. It's also why like after you experience like a big win, sometimes you feel like a little bit more dead afterwards. Now that we have a basic understanding of the dopamine system, we can talk about how cravings happen. Cravings happen because dopamine is anticipatory. What it means is that in order for you to have the motivation and desire to pursue something, your body is excreting a little bit of dopamine prior to this pleasurable event. Say for example you want to get a donut, like dopamine is gonna jump up before you get it, and that's what drives you to want to go get it. However, with the pleasure and pain balance within our dopamine system, when you experience that little jump at the beginning or before you perform an act, your body also excretes a little bit of pain hormones or like pain chemicals, right? And this is what gives you that cravings, because if you don't go pursue it, you're gonna feel like physically painful a little bit, and that is where cravings come from. So I think the two most important points of the dopamine system, like everything I just talked about, is that first, dopamine is designed to have a pain-pleasure balance. So every time you experience like a big jump, you're gonna, like, your body's gonna tip over towards the pain side a little bit more. And secondly is that dopamine is anticipatory. So before you perform an act, your body's gonna excrete a little bit of dopamine in order to like give you that motivation to go pursue it. And if you don't pursue it, like this pain hormone, you experience this physiological phenomenon as having cravings. You really want to get it. If you don't get it, it's like you feel uncomfortable, right? This is also why sometimes when you're addicted to something or like highly dependent on something, your cravings for it sometimes might even come after a totally unrelated but rewarding task. For example, for me, I would experience a craving for the substance I use a lot after I do my workout session, because like after I do my workout session, I experience a little bit of dopamine like jump, right? And afterwards my body tips over towards the pain side for a little bit, and because of this like tilted balance, my body's gonna like crave or wanna find more dopamine. And how it finds more dopamine is to look for what it associates with dopamine increase, if that makes sense. And usually it's the unhealthy substance, because honestly, addictive substances, they are addictive because they're acting on your dopamine system, because dopamine system is literally the, I guess, the system behind addiction and everything. So yeah, I think these knowledge is going to be very helpful in us overcoming this problem, because even though what I've just discussed sounds like we don't have control over how our body functions, but in fact that's not true, because just like how we only have one internal reward system, we also only have one top-down control neural circuit. And by neural circuit, I mean, I'm gonna just like quote the definition on Wikipedia: a population of neurons interconnected by synapses to carry out a specific function when activated. So basically, you just like think of a set group of neurons that work together in order to achieve a function. So yeah, basically we only have one neural circuit for top-down control, meaning like you being like self-control, willpower, or discipline, you know, like they're interchangeable in my opinion. What that means is that when you are able to practice self-control and willpower in any area of your life, this ability is going to transfer over to all areas of your life, because you only have one neural circuit. And as many of us know already, our neurons, like neural connections, it's basically like a muscle. You can work on it and make it stronger, right? So you can strengthen it as you utilize it more. So the very important mindset shift for me, I think this is like, it sounds like a simple mindset shift, but this mindset shift helped me overcome my like over a year-long dependency on certain things. I'm not gonna say what it is because my parents also watch my channel. So yeah, so this mindset shift is literally to remind yourself that you are in control. Like, dude, just like you gotta, like, addiction happens when you give your power away to the substance or behavior, but you just gotta, how you counter it, literally just telling yourself, I am not, like, dude, I am the sole emperor of my life. Like, I'm the sole controller of my life. Once I can control my mind, which everybody can control your mind, okay, you just gotta practice like a muscle, like you gotta build up that muscle. Yeah, basically, yes. So once I can, you know, strengthen my pathway, a substance or like a behavior is never going to be able to control me. Yeah, that's basically the mindset, but I'm gonna like talk about how you can actually strengthen your neural pathway. So basically, it's easy. Every time you override an urge for instant gratification, no matter what that is, it can also not be related to the addictive substance or behavior, but if you don't actually override your tendency to indulge in this, your mind is still gonna think like, oh, maybe I'm still being controlled by this substance, because like you don't have any past evidence, because your brain is like constantly learning, you know, like it's learning from your past experience to basically draw conclusions and stuff. So if your brain doesn't even have any evidence to be like, okay, I know that I'm not controlled by this, if it doesn't have any evidence, it's not gonna think that way. And so you can't really rewire your brain that way into thinking that you are in control. Basically, once you can override your urge for indulging in this behavior that you're trying to like get rid of, once your brain is already strengthening. And how I was able to kickstart this positive feedback loop is through reminding myself that the dopamine is like literally to remind myself, okay, I'm experiencing this craving because of this dopamine and pain, pleasure pain balance. And also another thing worth noting is that if you don't give in to this pain, like a little bit of pain and like cravings and stuff, your body, like over time, your body's like gonna go back to your normal baseline level of dopamine. I know that Andrew Huberman and Anna Lembke, so Anna Lembke is like an expert in dopamine and, you know, addiction and everything. So yeah, I know that their view is that if you like have a prolonged use of a certain like dopamine inducing substances, your pain and pleasure scale is gonna like tip over like permanently. I'm sure it has like a lot of valid points because literally they're doing research on this, but my view on this is that we always have control over our mind, and our mind controls our body, like literally. And we're gonna talk about how, like, why this is true, and like a lot of scientific evidence in my upcoming videos. Probably not next one, but we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned for that. Okay, yeah, subscribe. Yeah, so basically if you're like able to overcome that urge one time, your top-down control neural pathways is already strengthened. So every time you override that, literally trick your mind, you know, when you're rewiring your brain, you're basically tricking your brain, because your brain can, okay, this is like a weird, like a very thin line, but your brain doesn't really have like consciousness of itself per se. It's like you still have control over it by, you can basically brainwash yourself and rewire your brain. So when you overcome that urge, you can be like, honestly, I don't even feel that much pleasure doing it. Like, why do I even want to do it? Because it is true, when you're excessively indulging in something, it's not gonna bring you pleasure. Most likely it's gonna make you feel ashamed and make you feel like you're not in control and bring you down, you know. So like, remind yourself of that. And secondly is that try to fill your that time of you indulging in something with something that you actually enjoy doing, that's good for you, and you know, it's like helping you self-actualize. For me, it's working out. So I've always wanted like a really fit body, and before, the addictive thing that I do, like, it kind of makes me feel lazy and like so yeah, it's like I couldn't find the motivation to go for workout sessions. But now it's like I finally took action in, you know, like pursuing what I want. So basically fill in that time slowly with what you actually enjoy. Don't follow a generic thing. Like, just because you're hearing other people say, for example, talking about working out and exercising, doesn't mean that you enjoy doing it. You know, maybe you like to paint, maybe you like to sing, just whatever. Like, fill in that gap, like time, with something that you actually enjoy. It's gonna help you transition out of your routinely behavior of excessively indulging. Wow. And slowly over time, when you're able to tell yourself that, your brain is actually gonna think of the addictive behavior as like not that interesting anymore. When I first had the thought of, okay, I really want to find a better balance between me and like this thing, you know, I really did not want to let go of it completely. Anything can become addictive, right? When something becomes addictive, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of it completely. Maybe this is like the best balance for some people, maybe it's like not. I think the most important thing is finding a good balance, and this good balance is a very personal and subjective decision. And what you need to think about when making this decision is that, is the thing that you're doing, is your current balance promoting or hindering your life, like your life experience? Are you actually being happy and fulfilled from engaging in this act or with this substance, or are you wasting your time, wasting your life, just being, you know, high and depressed basically, or indulging in something that's like, you know, it's bad for you, but you feel like you don't have control over it, you feel like you can't control yourself? This is a really bad mindset, because if you want to accomplish anything in life, honestly, you have to recognize your power in controlling your life. Everybody has this power within us, okay? We just gotta find a way to cultivate it, to connect with this emperor energy. Yes, and I'm just here to give you how I did it, because if you know me, like, people around me know that I've struggled with this like for a pretty long time, you know, like addictive behaviors, because I do, like, when I tell you I have like obsessive tendencies, I have obsessive tendencies, okay? Like, yeah, it has something to do with my upbringing probably, but I'm a very vulnerable person to addictions, let me just say that. Yes, I like to do things in obsession. Aside from filling in your time with actually enjoyable things, like things that make you feel accomplished, aside from that, I have another actionable item that I feel like it's a really good adjunct to this mindset shift, is set firm boundaries. Like, okay, if you're like me, who like really likes to have fun and probably wouldn't want to get rid of all of my guilty pleasures once and for all, then you need to set really firm boundaries with it. And how you set that, or how I did it, is I literally have like a note in my phone, and it says boundaries, and I would just put down firm ass boundaries that I will never cross, you know. Or sometimes, like, yeah, maybe I will cross it, but you know, like, I always train myself, because this is also a really great way. It's like a brain exercise, a brain workout session for your self-control, willpower, discipline, top-down control, you know. This is like all very important virtue, and I wasn't someone who's like hella disciplined, have good boundaries, and etc. But if I can do this, then you can do it, okay? Yes. So basically, yeah, have a notepad, and then, or like a note on your phone, and write down your boundaries and really follow it. Even if you sometimes like violate it, like, it's okay. Like, don't beat yourself down for it, because it's literally the worst thing you can do for yourself, for real. Like, when you're beating yourself down for it, like, ask yourself, what is this doing? Like, does this, the way I'm talking to myself, do any good in anything? Like, does it help me get to where I want to get to, or is it just gonna like make me feel hopeless and helpless and stuck in my current place, my current spot. Yeah, like just remind yourself that, okay? And yeah, that's basically how I overcame my addiction or excessive indulgent tendencies. Yes. Let's do a quick recap. So first of all, you don't want to beat yourself down for it, no matter which state you are in. And if you're doing, like, if you're addicted to a substance, look it up on how it affects your brain. If like it increases your dopamine level by a lot, like, okay, for example, nicotine very quickly increases your baseline or your dopamine level. I think it was like 120% above baseline. Also, the quicker the jump is, the more addictive the substance is. And this is why nicotine is like very, very addictive. So understand why you're feeling like a craving and like pain towards it, and sometimes even lack of motivation to pursue anything else other than the substance or behavior. It's because of your dopamine system. But understand that it's gonna recalibrate it back to a homeostasis level, and you just gotta give it time. So mindset, do not beat yourself down. And secondly, when you're overriding the urge to like this temptation, remind yourself that, or just like place more intentions behind how you rewire your brain. Be like, I'm not being controlled by like anything, because I am powerful, I control my mind, and I'm not gonna be like tied down or controlled by a substance or behavior, you know? Like, I'm divine, I'm a divine being. Like, how can I be controlled by that? It's like impossible. And every time you override that, remind yourself, okay, it's just gonna become easier and easier. Soon enough, I'll be like hella disciplined, and like my top-down control is gonna be like good. So yeah, override that limbic friction, which is a term coined by Andrew Huberman. And now I kind of feel like I'm like a crazy fan of his, but I'm not, okay? He's like, I would say, one of my sources of information. So yes, override that limbic friction. The more you override it, the stronger this neural pathway, your neural muscle becomes. Last but not least, behavioral tips for you to help you mitigate this is to fill in your time with enjoyable events, no matter what that is. And secondly is to set good boundaries with it and have a good balance with it. And during this stage, you really need to be honest with yourself, okay? Like for me, I would literally write down my thoughts when I'm indulging on this thing. And if the thought is like negative, like if I'm like just anxious and I'm not even enjoying this act, then I will be honest with myself. Honestly, I think there's some research discussing honesty and addiction. So like the more you're honest with other people and with yourself, the easier to overcome addiction. I think that's like the conclusion. I'm not sure because I didn't look it up, but you guys can look it up, okay? But there's an association between honesty and addiction. So be honest with yourself, be honest with like people around you, get support. When you're like just confining yourself within your own little bubble and then thinking of you're being controlled by a substance, it's like basically you're putting a chain on yourself. You feel me? Like, yeah, devil energy. And also if you're honest with yourself, then every time you engage in the substance or behavior, even if like it's within this good balance, you have to recognize that you are indeed inviting in some sort of devil energy, like some bad energy. And if you can't tame it, then you better, the best thing for you is to like not invite it in, unless you can actually tame it and have a good balance with it and be honest with yourself and be able to control yourself. Yeah, I think that's like the gist of this video. How you can gain back control of your life by rewiring your brain, by adopting a simple mindset change. Yes, okay, I'm so glad I was able to film this video because literally I did not, so I did prepare a script for this video, like, and I edited it like hella times. I would say like 3-4 times, like I rewrote the whole thing. And then the last minute I decided to like film this and do it in an extemporaneous manner. So like I'm basically speaking out of my head, even though I know what I'm gonna talk about. Like I have all of my points jogged down on my notebook and on my laptop and stuff, because like I said, I prepared hella scripts for this. But I feel like maybe just talking naturally would be better, you know, like it's gonna sound more natural and sincere. And honestly, my intention is to like make you realize that you always have control over your life and give you the necessary, I guess, like knowledge or information to better gain back control, and how I did it. So I think from now on my videos are just gonna mostly be extemporaneous speaking, because I feel like it's important that I practice it. I hope you find this video helpful, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. Let me know it's helpful, and I really hope that you can find a good balance with it, you know, like gain back control. Don't waste your life being just high and depressed. Yes, you got this, okay? You got this. Yes, okay. Until next time, I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. Okay, bye. Editing this is gonna be a pain in the ass. I know that from Andrew Huberman and hold on. The Dopamine Nation. And Lembke. Ma. How the do I pronounce it? Pronunciation. Lembke?
The following pronunciation is brought to you by pronouncenames.com.
Just tell me.
Lembke.
Lembke. Okay. What is it again just now? Okay. I think I didn't do it well enough. Okay, I'm just gonna do it all that. Bye!